The Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Reverend Matthew Hassan Kukah, is asking government at all levels to create an enabling environment to effectively harness the potentials of the teeming young population for nation building. At a public presentation on the roles of youth in nation building, the clergy highlights the responsibility of the state to include creating a conducive environment for people to freely express themselves and maximize their potentials.
Basically, the project is aimed at facilitating online and offline conversations towards nation building, pressing issues, interrogate the government decisions, holding the government accountable, and people understanding what the civic space is towards nation building. There are less opportunities for the youth now in Nigeria. Some of them right now are saying that there is no employment. They are in school, they've lost hope. If I finish, where do I start from? Do I go into business? Businesses now, things are really expensive. So I feel the government has this responsibility of creating opportunities for the youth.
We've seen the youth as an important demographic in our country, a catalyst for growth, a catalyst to explore for national development, for economic development. So this program was put together to see how best can we use the youth as key players in the national economy for nation building, for nationhood. And we need to expose the youth to those things they need to do so that that can also happen. The youth must rediscover themselves and their role in nation building. They must reconstruct their mindset. A lot of them are very negative, a lot of them are very frustrated, and rightly so. This is to give them hope, to tell them that, well, they need to do a little more.
Right, for more discussions, we're now joined by the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kukah. What a delight to have you on Newsnight tonight. Good to see you again. Let's take it from that, very, very laudable project that, I mean, it's not, this, you're not starting this for the first time, but no. Yeah. Tell us more about, the point that is being made, that young people need to be positively engaged so they're not a pool for, Boko Haram and other nefarious activities.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me, and thank you for being interested in our story. I mean, this is just a tiny window into what we're trying to do at the Kukah Center. It's a project that is being funded by Osiwa. And essentially, the whole idea was to confront the issue of what to do with the civic space. We argue that the civic space has become hostile to new ideas, to fresh ideas. And if you look at where Nigeria is coming from, we're coming from a combination of African culture and a combination of our military past. That combination does not allow for the expression of youth energy. We're still having a political elite that is behaving in a way and manner that suggests that holding public office is like having a distribution agency. You give favors to whom you want. So the most important thing is we want to insert young people in a very meaningful way into national conversation. And the truth of the matter is that I think 80% of young people are not looking for what government can do for them or will do for them. A lot of young people who are far more imaginative than we give them credit for are just looking for space to thrive. As you know, no government will employ even 10% of its population. Nigeria is 200 million people and above. So how many people can the Federal Civil Service accommodate? So the truth of the matter is that, as I said about African culture, we tend to see young people as wait for your turn. And things are changing and changing very fast. So we are just arguing that the civic space that is closing in is dangerous for the survival of our country.
When you say enabling environment, you just talked about civil space closing in. Let's bring it down to brass tacks. What would we mean when we say enabling environment for these youths to harness their potentials? What would that really mean in brass tacks?
I mean, Anthony Blinken came here last week. Isn't it interesting that a substantial part of his conversation was about NSAS? Did we need a foreigner to come and hold the feet of the Nigerian government to the fire and insist that this is what ought to be done? Should we be having a conversation about whether young people were killed or anybody was killed at all? Is this the kind of conversation we should be having? Now, young people have already, and we shouldn't, I don't want to go into that conversation, but just to say that almost every direction young people turn, people are perceived that they are being treated as if they are suspects. And of course, you heard what the young people themselves were saying. You're walking around simply because you've got a phone. The police have got, have got a right to stop you. So it's that the enabling environment is about it's not just for young people. This conversation is in segments. Today is young people, tomorrow is women, next tomorrow is civil society, and so on and so forth. But we have a government, as I said, that because it's coming from a fresh experience with military rule, whereas, every time the military intervened, the first casualties were the Constitution and the National Assembly. Yeah. So we ended up with the rule of men, not the rule of law. And a lot of people holding public office have great difficulties understanding this. So Nigerians will tell you a man is talking and a woman is talking. Elders are talking and young people are talking. And so really the enabling environment is young people are simply say, you better live with it. We are here and we are here to stay. And that's not asking too much.
And you think they have made a very strong statement, not just in the case of NSAS, but let's move to other issues. I mean, only today, a federal high court in Abuja declared two groups, terrorist organizations and other, organizations like themselves. We spoke with Sheikh Gumi earlier, where he said it would, amount to nothing. What are your thoughts on that? How much difference really do you think it will make?
I was on a radio program this afternoon with Sheikh Gumi, and I don't want to go into a debate or an argument, but this is not the tragedy with what is happening in northern Nigeria is that, and like I said openly, it's not as if you have a bunch of Cameroonians or a bunch of Igbos or a bunch of Yorubas who have descended on northern Nigeria. It is that this is an incestuous war, a fratricidal war in which ordinary people are killing themselves. Now, to try and make a case to say, for example, which is Gumi's argument, that government has not done well for these people. People have been killed, and for crying out loud, government has not done well for 80-90% of its citizens. Are we supposed to be carrying cutlasses and killing people? And the point for me to make is, if people feel government has been wrong, then the governments are not ordinary farmers or ordinary people in their sleep that are being massacred day in and day out. So, but the point again to make is that nobody has got a license to kill simply because you are angry. Tragically, security has become an industry. Every time you turn on the television, the security experts, most retired military officers are now consultants on security matters. I don't know anywhere in the world where matters of security are debated on public television. Every day we have a hemorrhage of ideas that are cascading. Is government supposed to formulate policy on that, or is government, as my friend Mahmoud Jega just said, when he exposed the inadequacy of the argument that you're confusing, Yambindiga with some kind of a... The truth of the matter is that a lot of these things require scientific understanding. And I worry that the intellectual community, because this battle should be an opportunity for us to listen to psychologists. All we are saying is, only about 5 or 6 or so years ago, Nigerians were saying, no, it is not possible for any Nigerian to kill himself. We love life so much. We didn't see this coming. For me, part of the problem is that a lot of this conversation is too much politics and too little thinking. We're talking too much and thinking very little. And of course, sadly, Nigerians believe that if you are in power, if anybody has a view that is contrary to what the government thinks, he must be an enemy of state. So for me, the issues are huge, and it's important that we get our hands around them.
All right, Bishop, you are a bishop, like of course we know. In the Holy Book, Apostle Paul says, why go outside to settle your issues? Do you think really it's wise for you to wear your cassock, go before UN or US Parliament, to paint Nigeria blue-black, as it were? Shouldn't Africans, not just Nigerians, be solving their own problems instead of seeking validation from Europe, America, or the rest of the world?
Look, the question would then be, are you seeking validation from the outside world?
Look, why are we pretending? Why are we pretending? Can you speak to a Nigerian president or minister? If you ask to speak to a Nigerian president, and CNN asked to speak to a Nigerian president, whom will the government talk to first? Why are we pretending? If you want us to go on this road, I was here with Charles Adiagolu, and you make 2 false statements. I didn't go to address the United Nations, nor did I go to address the American Congress, it will be a great honor for me to so do. But like I said, I have a text of what I wrote, and it was open to the public. So you quote the Bible. We're in a democracy, not a theocracy. And if you're quoting the Bible, I should be an authority on that. That's not where we are going. We're talking about setting our country on the right path. This country is hemorrhaging. We've never been where we are today. Nobody, even our worst enemy, never made that calculation. And it will be a terrible mistake for Nigerians to think that somehow there are certain people who love this country more than others. A lot of people who are talking, I know where they were before 2015, and I know where they will be after 2023. The issues of our country should be an embarrassment and a cause of sorrow for every citizen of this country. So for me, if you talk to me about why, I'm a very restrained person, especially when I'm out of this country, when we're talking about Nigeria. But the evidence is all out there. Are you hiding the number of people who are being killed every day?
Great question. As a man of the cloth, before we let you go, I mean, the U.S. removed Nigeria from the list of countries of particular concern on the issue of freedom of religion. It seems the U.S. government, some are saying, ignored recommendation from U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. CAN has rejected that delisting. What are your thoughts?
Look, I like to be treated as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria who is just accidentally a bishop or a priest. I'm a Nigerian who happens to be a priest, and I could be anything else. So I don't like to be defined as a man of the cloth or a bishop. No, I'm a Nigerian citizen. And I don't have a separate place to buy fuel or whatever. But to answer your question,
yes.
The lesson we learn here is, look, the United States of America will walk through corpses. They will walk through blood to achieve their end. Now, you as a black man and as a Nigerian, you're simply tangential to what the interests are. So, am I disappointed? No, I'm not disappointed. I wouldn't have expected anything less. We are not at war with the federal government of Nigeria. The government cannot pretend that the issues that Christians or Muslims or people are talking about have been taken away. And by the way, just to correct you, please, if you excuse me, what I went for in the United States, was I didn't address the United States Congress. But don't forget, and for crying out loud, there were conversations about religious persecution around the world. People gave testimony about the persecution of Muslims. So how is it that somehow it is what Bishop Kukah said that has suddenly become, so important? But
because you're important.
Well, I'm important, but you guess what? If you're going to quote me right. And like I said, all my friends, I said it, here before Charles and Niagolu, bring Lai Mohammed here, bring Garba Shehu, bring, the whole of them, choose a place, choose a venue for us to have this conversation. But if you're going to quote me, don't have to agree with me, but agree with me based on the things you think, not the things you thought I said, but on the things that I've said.
If you were to be asked, because people talk, the talk is that we talk so much of the problems, the issues, and talk less
about the
solutions. So why don't we talk more of the solutions? People like you particularly, talk more of the solutions. How do we get out of the seeming challenges we seem to have?
Look, I can I sit here and give you advice about how to run your television station? I can't. I might have a few ideas, but I didn't set up this company. The guys who are ruling us were not appointed, they were elected. And they ran around the length and breadth of Nigeria, insisting they will solve our problems. So don't come to me and say, why am I not advising? If you want my advice, you will ask me. And let me tell you, for crying out loud, people call me from outside this country to seek my opinion. And I give it to them, not because I talk about the things I'm convinced about. I may not be right. But it is a shame, and I continue to make this point, it's a shame that somehow we're at a point in our lives in which the only right you concede to me is the right to agree with you.
I wonder if you agree with this subsidy removal plan and the 5,000 monthly transportation allowance that would take the place of it.
We may not be able to have time
if you
can.
Do that. I know it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to get 5,000. I can assure you of that. So if it happens,
if it happens,
that we get 5,000 naira, we are in recession. We're just coming out of recession. Where are you going to get 5,000 naira multiplied by 200 million people?
And that's quite a lot of money when you multiply it anyway.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, my
Bishop
pleasure. Thank
Kukah,
you
for being here on Newsnight.